Today I'm going to show you how to resolve this error on the control panel of a Jacuzzi hot tub. This is known as a watchdog error. I'm going to do a couple preliminary troubleshooting steps. So first, I just want to take a moment to explain what is going on here. On this front panel, you can see that there are 4 dash marks, and all of the other buttons on the panel are inoperable. There's no response by the machine when you push any of these buttons. Another symptom is that it no longer functions at all. The heater does not turn on, the jets do not respond, and the water inside of the tub, as a natural response to the heater not coming on, obviously gets colder. So the first step we're going to do is I'm simply going to flip the breaker and see if that, resets everything. I power cycle the breaker that's connected to the hot tub. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off for a few seconds and then pop it back on. I'm going to go check and see if there's any difference. No difference to a power cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off for a full 15 minutes to make sure that everything just fully drains of power and resets, and then I'll come back and see if there's any difference. Okay, turning off. I'll come back in 15 minutes. All right, turning back on. Let's go check it out, see if that helped. And there's been no change to the power being off for 15 minutes. So I'm now going to move forward with what I thought would be the scenario, and I'm going to replace the heat sensor. For this model, this is a Jacuzzi 355. You can see that the heat sensor is located right here underneath the filter cover. So I removed the filter cover. It just kind of sits in these little holders. I pulled that out, and you can see the edge of the heat sensor right there. I just got the panel off and I realized, oh, I need to shut the breaker off. So I'm gonna go do that right now real quick. You don't want any electrical parts running or things on while you're working in here, just to be safe. Okay, I now have access to my spa controller box. This is, like I said earlier, this is a J355. It's a 2006 model. I needed to know that when I bought my heat sensor, so make sure you check yours and that you're buying a heat sensor that matches the specs of your unit. So next I'm gonna take off these screws and get access to my control panel. Keep in mind every hot tub is different, but the functional parts inside of it are gonna be very similar. So yours might not look exactly like this, but it'll still have a heat sensor and it'll still be connected to a circuit board. So what I'm about to show you will still be true, it just might look a little bit different. So keep in mind, I said my heat sensor is right here. So there's gonna be PVC pipe on the inside that protects that wire. And if you look in, you can see there's exactly that. So I'm just tracing this green wire is the one that I'm looking for. So I'm tracing that back in, seeing where it enters my control box. And I can see that it enters down low right here. I'm just tracing it back. And you're gonna see that it terminates on the circuit board. See at the top where it says sensors? That's exactly what we want to see. So I need to get these 2 wires out, black and red. So looking at these sensors, you can see that there is a bracket bar here and here. And that, once you release those, it'll allow you to pull this assembly out so you can look at it a little bit closer. Something that's important to remember is that the red is going to be on the lower side and the black is going to be on the top side in orientation to when it's plugged in. So I am looking to only remove the connections on this green wire. Okay, so I'm looking at the pins right now. What you're going to want to do is get a sharp edge or a paper clip, a knife, and you're going to press gently on the copper that's exposed here and then pull the wire out. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side as well. Press gently and then pull out. So as you can see, I've now fully removed the faulty, I suspect, heat sensor. Here is my replacement heat sensor. This is called a box-in connector. Notice it's a square with a hollow point on the end. This will actually plug into the connector pack. On the box-in connector, notice there's a little flap. That's going to be what plugs in and prevents you from being able to back the wire out once it's in the pack. So you want to make sure you orient that upward. So here's an example. I'm going to plug the black one into it. I'm going to make sure that that flap is pointed upward so that when I press it in, it clicks. The flap then goes into this opening right here, and I'm no longer able to back it out. I'm gonna do the same thing, but with the red side. Both wires are in correctly. I'm now going to plug the sensor pack back in. You want to firmly press it in so that the pins connect into the pack. It should look like this when you're done. The side clips are connected back in, and it's firmly placed in. What I'm now going to do as a test is I'm going to place my new heat sensor in the water. I'm going to go turn my breaker on, and I'm going to see if the panel now reads the new heat sensor in the water and on the circuit board, and this no longer has the dash lines. Okay, here's the unfortunate update. The heat sensor test was not successful. I have the new heat sensor plugged in. It immediately goes to 4 dash lines. Everything is connected correctly, and I called a hot tub technician, and they said that this could be a couple different issues, but typically what they see is there's a component inside of the board that is bad, or the board needs to be replaced, which is really a bad situation. The next day we had a technician come out, and he double checked everything I did. He then started troubleshooting the circuit board itself, and he actually had some luck identifying something on the board. Here's a little fuse, transformer fuse on the circuit board the guy just pulled out. He said it looks like it's broken right in the middle, so this is worth a try to replace. He pulled it out of right there. The hot tub immediately started working again once the replacement transformer fuse was installed.
It's heating right now.
After doing some continuity checks, the heat sensor was verified to be bad. So the replacement one that I tested the previous day is now getting installed. As you can see, the process to install, you have to lower the water level, and then once the heat sensor is exposed, you're going to pull it out and cut off the head of the old heat sensor. Then you're going to use the existing one to fish the sensor through that PVC pipe. I am filling the hot tub up again, and then I'm going to balance the chemicals. We just verified that the hot tub is functioning correctly now at this point. That was pretty neat. Learned a lot from that technician. So he came out and he verified the functionality of the high limit sensor. And then in addition to that, we also tested that the heat sensor that I purchased was functioning correctly, and we ran that real quick, which is why the water level had to be reduced. So we took the ribbon cable that's connected to the panel, took that out, and then made sure that those terminals were clean, and then put them back in and made sure that they were seated correctly. That wasn't the cause of the issue. So then he started doing some deeper tests on the circuit board itself, because he was suspecting that either a component of the circuit board was bad or the circuit board itself was bad. So as he was poking around and testing the continuity of everything, verifying that power was correct, he started looking at the transformer. And he looked at the connections to the transformer and then the transformer fuse. And when he looked at the transformer fuses, there was 2 of them that he looked at specifically. The first one was, it has a black little coil inside of it that was completed and not broken. And then the second one he looked at, he pulled it out, and that black coil was broken in half and it was charred looking. So that was a pretty clear indication that that transformer fuse had at least blown, and it could potentially be the culprit. So he got a jumper cable that connected to the fuse terminals to bypass that fuse once it was pulled out, and the machine started up right away. In addition to the heat sensor being bad, there was also that blown and broken transformer fuse that was on the circuit board. So once he replaced that, the system started up and everything was functional. So I will be turning it all back on here after I finish filling this up, turn the jets on, make sure that the heater stays on and warms the water up, get the chemicals balanced, things like that. We're back up and running. Looks like the water temperature 59. I definitely believe that. I'm gonna fill this up a few more inches and then start balancing the chemicals while this warms up.